incidence of light on the plant or increase in the light that is falling on the plant beyond a point, it actually causes a breakdown of chlorophyll. So apart from that, the photosynthesis rate depends on the quality of the light, and it also depends on the intensity of the light and the duration of exposure to light. So more the number of mesophyll cells in the leaves, more is the rate of photosynthesis. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to another session on chapter 13, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. I am Dr. Divya, biology faculty, Vidyashram Pre-University College, Mysore, Temple of Excellence. So in the previous session, we had discussed about the dark reaction which involved the Kelvin cycle, wherein the Kelvin cycle involves three important phases or stages, which is called as carboxylation, the reduction and regeneration. And also we learnt about the Hatch and Slack cycle, which is also called as the C4 pathway. And also we studied about photorespiration, which takes place in the plants, and the difference between the photorespiration that occurs in the case of C3 plants and that of the C4 plants. In this particular session, which is the last session of this chapter, so we shall study about what are those factors that actually affect the rate of photosynthesis. So there are various factors, environmental factors or the factors that are present in the plant itself, which actually play a major role in the photosynthesis. What are those? We shall study one by one. So to begin with, we shall study with the external factors. So when I talk about the factors, means it involves the external factors, that is the environmental factors such as the light, the temperature, the carbon dioxide concentration and water. And also apart from the external factors, there are also certain internal factors, those factors which are present within the plant itself that actually alter the rate of photosynthesis. So we shall start studying each of these one by one. So talking about external factors, one of the major external factor for photosynthesis is light. So we all know that the raw materials for photosynthesis is carbon dioxide, it is water and also the sunlight energy, right? But though light is one of the external factors which decides the rate of photosynthesis, it is not a major limiting factor. Why it is not a major limiting factor is because plants, even if there is 10% of sunlight or sunshine, the plants can absorb the light and that is sufficient for the plants. It means plant utilize only 10% of the light that is given by the sun. So therefore, only 10% is needed for the photosynthesis to occur. That is why light doesn't always play a major important role in the case of photosynthesis, or in other words, they play a major important role in photosynthesis, but it is not one of the major limiting factors in photosynthesis. So you might have noticed it is not necessary that to keep plants completely under the sun, right? Some of the plants we keep it inside the house also, where there is enough amount of sunlight entering. Why? Because only 10% of light is needed for the plants to photosynthesize. That is why. So apart from that, the photosynthesis rate depends on the quality of the light, and it also depends on the intensity of the light and the duration of exposure to light. So quality of the light. When talking about quality, I am talking about the different colors of rays emitted by the sunlight. So you know that when that is the white light of the sun, it actually is made up of 7 different colors, right? Among those 7 different colors, it is the red and the blue color that actually increases the rate of photosynthesis in a plant, and wherein the chlorophyll A can absorb both the red and the blue color of the light, therefore increasing the rate of photosynthesis. Hence, the quality of the light also plays a very important role in photosynthesis. Say for example, green light. The sun rays, if it emits green light also, what happens? That green light will not play a major role in the photosynthesis. That is why quality of light is very, very important. and the intensity of the light. How much amount of light should the plant need? When I'm talking about intensity, it can be minimum intensity, optimum intensity and maximum intensity. So if the plant is receiving minimum intensity, because I told you plants make use of only 10% of the light, right? Only 10% of the light it will make use for photosynthesis. So if the light is less than 10%, that will affect the rate of photosynthesis. The plant will not be able to photosynthesize. So that is minimum amount of light. It is affecting the rate of photosynthesis. Maximum amount of light, there also, if it is more than 10% amount of light that the plant need for photosynthesis, if it is more than that, then it will cause harm to the plant. Why? Because we know that this the plant cells the chlorophyll, which is a pigment, or the in light reaction and all that, a lot of enzymes are involved in these reactions, right? So during that time what happens, excessive exposure to light can cause damage to them. Not just that, excess exposure to light can also hinder the functioning of the chlorophyll A pigment. So therefore the light intensity, how much amount of light is falling on the plant, also plays a very important role in the rate of photosynthesis. Next, talking about duration of exposure to light. The plants cannot be exposed to light 24 hours, right? They need to pass through a day and night light cycle, right? Wherein one half of the day they will be in the light condition and the other half they will be in the dark condition. So therefore, the duration to which the amount that is the duration up till when the plant is exposed to light also is one of the major factors in the case of photosynthesis. So therefore, the quality, the intensity and the quantity of light also plays a major role in which affects the photosynthesis. And when we look at light, there is a relationship, that is a linear relationship between the light that is falling on the plant, that is nothing but called as the incident light. So incident light means that amount of light that is falling on the plant, and the carbon dioxide fixation, because we know that both of these actually are raw materials for photosynthesis, and without carbon dioxide the plants cannot photosynthesize. Why? Because we know that they make use of carbon dioxide which will be reduced to glucose, right? So therefore, without carbon dioxide, without enough light, the carbon dioxide will not become active, therefore reducing to glucose, and hence the carbon dioxide fixation rate will also decrease under low light. So therefore, there is always a relationship between the amount of light that is falling on the plant and the carbon dioxide fixation in that particular plant. And at higher light intensity, the rate does not show further increase as other factors become limiting. So what it means? So we know that for the plants to photosynthesize, water, carbon dioxide and sunlight are the three major raw materials, right? Say for example, if one is overpowering the other, it will not work well for the plant. Say for example, if the plant is absorbing 10% of light and it is utilizing 10% of carbon dioxide and 10% of water, then the photosynthesis rate will be very good. The plants can photosynthesize normally. But in case, say the plant is put to water stress, enough of light also the plant is getting enough of oxygen as well, but if it is not getting the required amount of water, then will photosynthesis occur? No, that is not possible. Therefore, at higher light intensity, gradually the rate of photosynthesis will not show any further increase, because sometimes under higher light intensity the other factors may become minimum. So if the intensity of the sunlight is too high, it will lead to water scarcity in that particular area. So all that will become a limiting factor there. So that is why all the three raw materials, they go hand in hand in the case of photosynthesis. And light saturation, it usually occurs at 10% of the full sunlight. So whatever amount of sunlight may be emitted by the sun, but in spite of that, the plant makes use of only 10%. Therefore, at 10%, it attains saturation. So as you can see the graph here, they have plotted in the x-axis and in the y-axis, they have plotted the light intensity, and in the y-axis they have plotted the rate of photosynthesis. So the light intensity will increase when the day starts, and it actually becomes saturates when it reaches 10% in the case of plants, because that 10% is enough for the plants to be utilized. And after that, further increase in the light will actually cause reduction in the rate of photosynthesis. Why? Because neither minimum amount of light will also not help the plant to photosynthesize, nor a maximum amount of light intensity will also not help the plant to photosynthesize, but only the optimum level, that is at the 10 saturation, 10%, the light attains saturation, wherein the photosynthesis rate will take place in a good manner. So hence, except for those plants which are in the shade or those plants which are in the forest, light is rarely a limiting factor. Why? Because, say for example, you might have seen a forest with very huge trees and a canopy. Canopy means they have almost covered you cannot properly see the sky from below because the branches would have covered. But in spite of that, at the base, you can see other plants growing. Why is that possible? Because whatever sunlight is falling, that 10% is enough for that plants, below ground plants to grow. So that is the reason why light is almost rarely a limiting factor, because whatever may be the light intensity, 10% is enough for that. But higher light intensity will not help the plant in the case of photosynthesis. So don't think that if the light provided by the sun is too much, then the plants will photosynthesize more. No, it is not that case. Only 10% will be utilized by the plant, and it reaches saturation at 10%. So therefore, increase in the incidence of light on the plant, or increase in the light that is falling on the plant beyond a point, it actually causes a breakdown of chlorophyll. So that is why, say for I drew a curve which is coming down here. Why? Because what happens here is, if the amount of light intensity is beyond 10%, and if it goes on increasing, it will damage the chlorophyll pigments, because chlorophyll pigments are nothing but proteins. So they will obviously get denatured under high light or high light conditions. So that is why it is very important for the plants to have a optimum light of about 10%. So therefore, 10% light is sufficient for the plants to photosynthesize or to increase the rate of photosynthesis. So that is why light is never a limiting factor to the plant. So this is about the external factor, that is light. So now talking about one more external factor, which is carbon dioxide concentration. So carbon dioxide is also one of the major raw material that is involved in photosynthesis. So the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is actually very, very low. But when talking about light, I told you in summers and all, light intensity is very high. It is high in the environment, but the plant requires only 10%. So if the light intensity, that is why, or else what would happen? Can you imagine in the rainy season and all, whenever there is low light intensity, the plants would not survive at all. But how are they surviving? It is because of their less requirement of light. But it is not that in the case of carbon dioxide. In carbon dioxide, the concentration of carbon dioxide is very low in the atmosphere. That is, it is between 0.03 and 0.04%. So this low amount of carbon dioxide is not sufficient for the plants, because plants, they take in carbon dioxide for the process of photosynthesis, right? Plants usually require somewhere around 0.05% carbon dioxide, neither below that nor above that. So therefore, increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide up to 0.05% will also cause an increase in the carbon dioxide fixation rate. So that is which is very, very important in the case of photosynthesis. So therefore, previously I had told you light and carbon dioxide, they play a very important role because the light intensity favors the carbon dioxide as well, carbon dioxide fixation. So here we know that light intensity 10% is needed for the plant, and now carbon dioxide 0.05% is needed. Below that, photosynthesis rate will get hindered. Above that, photosynthesis rate will get hindered. It should always be at 0.05%, and beyond this level, it can damage the plant cells, therefore bringing down the photosynthetic rate. So therefore, carbon dioxide is also the concentration or the amount of carbon dioxide that is present in the atmosphere plays a very, very important role in the case of photosynthesis. So now we know that the carbon dioxide concentration should be 0.05%, neither above that nor below that in the atmosphere. Then only the photosynthesis rate can go well. So here, when we consider the C3 and the C4 plants, so C3 plants here, a 3 carbon is the first fixation, is the first step. So that is why such plants are called as the C3 plants, and a 4 carbon is the fixation on the first step. That is why it is called as the C4 plants. So C3 and C4 plants, they actually respond differently to the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere. So here what happens, I had told you that light intensity and carbon dioxide, they go hand in hand. So if the light intensity is low, that is if it is below 10% and the carbon dioxide amount that is needed for the plant is optimum, what might happen? So at low light condition, neither group responds to high carbon dioxide condition. So here what happens? Here neither of the C3 nor the C4 plants will respond to photosynthesis. Why? Because in spite of it having a good amount of carbon dioxide needed for the photosynthesis, the light intensity is very, very low. That is, it is minimum, below the optimum level. Hence, at low light condition, neither the C3 plant nor the C4 plant, it will respond to high carbon dioxide condition. And when it comes to high light intensity, both the C3 plants and the C4 plants, they show an increase in the rate of photosynthesis. So here what happens? I told you plant attains saturation at light intensity of 10%, right? Here, in the case of carbon dioxide, C4 plants show saturation at about 360 microliter. So, 360 microliter per liter of carbon dioxide is enough for the plants to photosynthesize. Well, whereas C3 plants, they require more amount of carbon dioxide when compared to the C4 plants. So, they require a carbon dioxide beyond 450 microliter. So, if it is a C4 plant, the light intensity should be optimum, that is 10%, and carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere should be 360 microliter per liter. Then the photosynthesis rate will occur normally. While in the case of C3 plants, they should have an exposure to 10% of light intensity, and the carbon dioxide concentration should be beyond 450 microliter per liter. Then only they can photosynthesize. So that is the difference between the C3 and the C4 plants. So thus, the current availability of carbon dioxide level is limiting to the C3 plants but not to the C4 plants. Why? Because C4 plants, they can survive at 0.05% of the carbon dioxide, wherein they make use of 360 microliter per liter of carbon dioxide, wherein they will attain saturation, wherein photosynthesis will occur. But for C3 plants, carbon dioxide is a limiting factor, but not for the C4 plants. So that is why C3 plants can be grown very well in greenhouse condition, wherein the carbon dioxide is abundant. So it is easy to grow these plants, C3 plants, in greenhouses where the carbon dioxide concentration is high, so that it will get about 450 microliter per liter of carbon dioxide, and also it will get the optimum level of light, therefore the photosynthesis will take place correctly. So this is about the carbon dioxide concentration. So next, talking about one more limiting factor, that is temperature. So we have heard about the light reaction and dark reaction of photosynthesis. Light reaction occurs in the grana of the chloroplast or the thylakoid, and the dark reaction occurs in the stroma, which is the fluid matrix inside the chloroplast. So when we talk about the dark reaction, for dark reaction, actually a lot of enzymes are being involved in the dark reaction, be it the Kelvin cycle or the Hatch and Slack cycle. So what happens here, a lot of enzymes are being involved in this particular reaction. So therefore, these enzymes and all that are temperature controlled. Why? Because we know that if the temperature is freezing, that is below the normal temperature, then it will freeze the activity of that particular enzyme, and therefore the dark reactions will not occur. On the other hand, if the temperature is too high, what happens? Because in these reactions, that is in the dark reaction of photosynthesis, lot of enzymes are being involved, and enzymes are nothing but they are made up of proteins, and we all know that proteins under high temperature, they get denatured. So what is denatured? It is nothing but proteins are nothing but made up of chains of amino acids, right? So they break, the chains of amino acids break, and the structure of the protein gets altered. Therefore, the protein becomes denatured, which is not good. So if the protein becomes denatured, means again the enzymes will lose their capability of performing that particular function in the process of dark reaction. So dark reaction, being enzymatic, are temperature controlled. So here, though the light reaction are also temperature sensitive, they are affected to a much lesser extent. But the enzymes are the ones which actually come into problem if the temperature is not optimum, that is if the temperature falls below the optimum level or if it goes above the optimum level. So say for example the C4 plants, in which it is also called the dark reaction that occurs in them is the Hatch and Slack cycle. So in C4 plants, these plants respond to higher temperature and they show higher rate of photosynthesis. So the mechanism in C4 plant, it is in such a way that they are able to withstand high temperature. That is why C4 plants can survive in tropical regions and also in desert conditions, because they are capable of surviving in the, that is, high temperature condition, wherein their photosynthetic pathway, that is the dark reaction is there, goes through a specific pathway which is called as the Hatch and Slack cycle there. So here, and they show higher rate of photosynthesis, while the C3 plants, they require much lower temperature. That is, they need a optimum temperature. So they cannot withstand a temperature below the optimum level nor above the optimum level, whereas the C4 plants can withstand higher temperatures. And the temperature optimum for photosynthesis in the case of different plants depend on the habitat they are growing in. So the plants have adapted themselves to grow in different habitats wherein they have different temperature conditions. So how could the plants survive in deserts, in snow regions or the alpine mountains wherein there is lot of snow, all that regions? It is because of their adaptation to that particular temperature. Therefore, they photosynthesize and they are able to survive there. And tropical plants, they have a higher temperature optimum when compared to that of the temperate climate. So almost all the C4 plants that come under the tropical plants, they are able to survive beyond the optimum temperature or able to photosynthesize beyond the optimum temperature. Whereas C3 plants, they cannot survive in that particular high temperature areas. They are only meant for the temperate climate wherein the temperature is optimum. So this is how temperature plays a very important role in photosynthesis. So what did we understand? During dark reaction, a lot of enzymes are being involved and a high temperature can alter the structure of these enzymes because the proteins might get denatured. Therefore, if the enzymes are denatured, they won't be able to perform their normal activity in that particular dark reaction cycle, therefore hindering the photosynthesis. So, but the rate of photosynthesis depends on the capability of that particular plant to withstand different temperatures. So, that we have to keep in mind. So, next one more limiting factor, that is external factor, is water. So far we studied about the external factors, that is light, carbon dioxide concentration, then temperature, and now water. So water, even though water is one of the reactants in the light reaction, why? Because water is the one which reacts with light to give out oxygen, right? So oxygen that is given out by the plants during the process of photosynthesis comes from water. So even though water is one of the reactants in the light reaction, the effect of water plays a major role in the plant rather than directly on photosynthesis. So what happens? So minimum amount of water, maybe the plant can photosynthesize to some extent, but will the limiting amount of water, what will happen is water stress. So if the water is not available to the plants, what might happen? Photosynthesis will not occur. Why? Because the plant will not get enough carbon dioxide. How will the plant not get enough carbon dioxide? It is because whenever the plants are under stress, you have learnt about transpiration in the chapter transport in plants, right? So there what happens? When the temperature increases, the rate of transpiration also increases. Why? Because plants, they actually, as the water transpires or lost, they take in water from the roots. So what happens in such cases is, say for example, the temperature is very high in the environment, therefore the grounds will become dry fast, the soil becomes dry fast. So if the water is lost by the plant, from where will the roots derive the water? Because soil water is almost drained because of the sunlight. So in such conditions, what happens is, in order to prevent the transpiration or loss of water, the stomata will close. So in such conditions, what happens? If there is no enough water in the ground, or if there is a drought condition, in order to prevent loss of water, the stomata will close. Means the water stress actually causes the stomata to close. So if the stomata doesn't close, how will the exchange of gases take place? Because the gases enter through the stomatal pore, which is nothing but the openings that are present in the green leaves, right? So how will they take place? Therefore, if enough of carbon dioxide is not entering the plant, how much, that is, say for example, if the plant doesn't get, if it is a C4 plant or a C3 plant, if they doesn't get the required amount of carbon dioxide, how will photosynthesis takes place, right? So that is how, though water doesn't directly affect the rate of photosynthesis, it indirectly affects the plant, because if there is no water, stomata will close. Therefore, carbon dioxide cannot enter into the plant. So if carbon dioxide cannot enter into the plant, even if the plant is getting enough sunlight also, the photosynthesis will not occur. So here, if the carbon dioxide is not entering into the plant, then the photosynthesis will not occur. Therefore, water stress causes the stomata to close, and hence reducing the carbon dioxide availability, therefore reducing the photosynthetic rate, or the photosynthetic rate might not occur at all. And on the other hand, if the plant doesn't require enough amount of water, they will wither and die. That is also one of the reasons. So besides, water stress also makes the leaves of the plant to wilt. If water is not there, what happens? The cells of the plant will shrink, right? They will get plasmolized. They will start to shrink, and therefore leading to the death of that particular plant because of wilting. And not just that, sometimes what happens, if the leaves, some of the leaves wilt, then the number of leaves will also reduce in the plant. Therefore, photosynthetic rate will also reduce there. And not just that, Sometimes what happens because of the water stress, in order to prevent excess loss of moisture from the plant, closing of stomata is one factor. Other factor is the leaves will curl in order to reduce the surface area, so that if the surface area of the leaf gets reduced, the loss of water will be reduced. But on the other hand, what might happen if the surface of the area of the leaf gets reduced because of the curling of the leaf, the photosynthesis will be affected. And not just that, therefore the metabolic activity of the plant will get affected. And hence, though water doesn't affect photosynthesis directly, it affects the overall nature of the plant, therefore reducing the photosynthetic activity. So these were about the external factors. So apart from these, there are also certain internal factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. So internal factors, those that are there in the body of the plant itself. So what are those? It is the number, the size, the age and the orientation of the leaves. So number of leaves. So say for example, there are two plants. So plant A and plant B. In this plant, there is only 2 leaves present, whereas in this plant, there is somewhere around 4 leaves present. So which plant do you think will photosynthesize more? Obviously, those plants having more number of green leaves, right? So more number of green leaves, more the rate of photosynthesis. But less number of green leaves, the photosynthesis will happen. But compared to more the number of green leaves, it will be less. So that is why the number of leaves also play a very important role in the photosynthesis. And next, size of the leaf. So say for example, plant A is having very small leaves, but too many leaves it is having. Say for example, this is plant A and plant B. Plant A is having lot of leaves which are very small. But plant B might be having only 3 leaves which is very large. Now do you think in which one the photosynthesis rate will be high? It will be in plant B. In spite of plant B having only 3 leaves, the size of the leaf is very, very large. Therefore, the area for the plant to photosynthesize will be very, very large. That is why here number of leaves play a major role as well, but also the size of the leaf also play a major role in the photosynthesis. Next, talking about the age. We all know that as the leaf ages, they turn yellow. They start losing the chlorophyll pigments in them, right? So such aged leaves which are about to wither, they do not help the plant in photosynthesizing. Therefore, age of the leaf also matters. And not just that, the orientation of the leaf. Sometimes what happens, why orientation of the leaf is because, say for example, if the leaf is curled away from the sunlight, it will not be exposed to enough of the sunlight. But on the other hand, if it is exposed to sunlight properly with the long petiole and all that, then the plant leaf will be exposed too much to the sunlight. Therefore, the rate of photosynthesis will increase. So that is how the position of the leaves in the plant or the orientation of the leaves in the plant also play a major role. The best example I can give you is of the water plant, that is lotus. So lotus, when you see, the plant is present at the bottom, right? But if you see the leaf, it is actually present above the water. So the petiole grows to such a length, it holds the leaf above the surface of the water. Therefore, when the entire leaf is exposed to the surface of water, it will get the optimum level of light that is needed for photosynthesis. That is why the orientation or the position of the leaf plays a very important role in the photosynthesis. Next, talking about mesophyll cells. So what are these mesophyll cells? They are the cells, that is the spongy parenchyma cells and the palisade parenchyma cells that are present in the leaves. So these spongy and palisade parenchymas, they have chlorophyll pigments in them. They can also be called as the chloroplast, that is the chlorenchyma. They have the chlorophyll pigments in them, or they have large number of chloroplasts. So more the number of mesophyll cells in the leaves, more is the rate of photosynthesis. So that is how mesophyll cells also play a very important role. Next comes the chloroplast and the amount of chlorophyll. So more the number of mesophyll cells, more is the number of chloroplast in that particular leaf or the plant. Therefore, more the number of chloroplast, more the amount of pigment in that particular chlorophyll pigment in that particular plant. Therefore, chloroplast and the amount of chlorophyll pigment also plays a major role. Next is internal carbon dioxide concentration. So, the amount of carbon dioxide that is being absorbed by the plant, which enters to the plant through the stomata, also plays a major role in photosynthesis, because carbon dioxide is one of the major factors for photosynthesis. Because I told you carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere is very, very less. So, how much amount of carbon dioxide has been taken in by the plants, that the liter, that is how much microliter per liter of carbon dioxide has been taken, plays a very important role in the photosynthesis rate. So, these are the internal factors. So, what are the internal factors? The leaf is one of the internal factor, that is the number of leaves, the size of the leaf, the age of the leaf, and the position of the leaves, and also the mesophyll cells that are present in the leaves, the chloroplast and the amount of chlorophyll pigments that are present in the leaf, and the internal the carbon dioxide concentration that is present inside the leaf cells, all other internal factors for photosynthesis. So, next we shall study about one theory put forward by Blackman in the year 1905. It is called as Blackman's law of limiting factors. So, what Blackman said was, if a chemical process is affected by more than one factor, then the rate of that particular process will be determined by the factor which is nearest to its minimal value, and that it is the factor which directly affects the process of its quality process if its quality is changed. So, what it means? So, what he is saying that if a chemical process is affected by more than one factor. So, say for example, here in this chapter, we are talking about photosynthesis. So, what is the process that is occurring there? It is the photosynthetic process, wherein carbon dioxide, water and light energy are made use of. Three of them are working together to photosynthesize or for the plants to produce their food, right? So, here there are three factors that are involved in the case of photosynthesis. One is carbon dioxide, one is water, and the other one is the sunlight. So, here, and also the chlorophyll also is one of the factors. So, here, if it is affected by more than one factor, because I told you what happens here is, if the carbon dioxide is also available, water availability is also there, but the amount of light that the plant is receiving is less than 10% or beyond 10%, then the photosynthesis rate will not take place well, right? So, all the three should go hand in hand. That is what Blackman actually means. So, here then its rate will be determined by the factor which is nearest to its minimal value. That is what I said. Say carbon dioxide is there, then water is there, then we have light energy, all this. Say for example, if the plant is receiving carbon dioxide, it needs about 0.05% carbon dioxide it is receiving. But light, it also needs about 10%. Everything is correct here. But water, the plant is not receiving water at all. So, if it is not receiving water, do you think carbon dioxide and light alone can play an important role in the photosynthesis? Can it bring about the photosynthesis? No, right? So, therefore, if one value gets affected, the other two will also be affected in spite of them being in their optimum level. So, that is what is meant by Blackman's limiting law of, that is Blackman's law of limiting factor. For example, they have given here, in spite of the presence of a green leaf, so there is a green leaf and the green leaf is receiving optimum light, and also it is receiving optimum carbon dioxide. As I told you here, it is receiving optimum light, that is 10%, and also it is receiving 0.05% carbon dioxide that is needed for it. The plant may not photosynthesize if the temperature is very low. What happens here? Because I told you, during photosynthesis, there is something called as the dark reaction. And in the dark reaction, a lot of enzymes are being involved in that particular reaction. So, if those enzymes are subjected to low temperature, if the plant is thriving in low temperature, then what happens? It will freeze the enzymatic activity, therefore the photosynthesis will not occur. So that is what it means. The plant may not photosynthesize if the temperature is very low. So this leaf therefore should be, if it is given the optimum temperature, then it will start to photosynthesize. So it will start photosynthesizing, otherwise it will not. So that is what he meant. So what did he say? Now there is a chemical process going on here. For that chemical process, the green leaf is also ready for that process. The optimum light is also available. The optimum carbon dioxide that is needed is also available. But the plant is in a freezing temperature. Will it photosynthesize in spite of all these available? No. Why? Because as I told you, low temperature also should be optimum. It should not be go beyond or below for the plant. Otherwise, it will not photosynthesize. So that is the reason here. So only when optimal temperature is reached, depending on the species. So it doesn't mean that freezing plants, if you take it and put it in the temperate region where the temperature is very high, the plant will not photosynthesize. Same thing if the plants growing in high temperatures, if you put it in freezing temperature, it will not photosynthesize. Therefore, for that particular plant, whatever optimum raw materials it should need, that should be there for that plant. Otherwise, it will not photosynthesize. If there is problem in any one of the raw material, it will not photosynthesize correctly. So that is what Blackman's law of limiting factors state. So this is about this particular session wherein we dealt with the factors that actually affect the photosynthesis, in which there are two types of factors. One is the external factors and the internal factors. The external factors, we came to know about the role of carbon dioxide, water, temperature and light, how they play a role or how they affect the rate of photosynthesis. And in the internal factor, we came to know about the cells present in the leaves, that is the mesophyll cells, the size of the leaf, the number of the leaves, then the age of the leaves. All that is responsible for the rate of photosynthesis, and also the amount of chloroplast and the chlorophyll pigments that are present, and the position of the leaf in a plant is also one of the internal factors for deciding the rate of photosynthesis in a plant. And also we studied about Blackman's law, what he actually stated. So I hope you understood this session well. With this, the chapter, that is photosynthesis in higher plant, it ends. So we shall meet in the coming sessions with a new chapter. Thank you.